All right, it's October, Halloween's around the corner. I think Squid Game counts for that Halloween vibe a little bit. Point is, maybe I'm making an excuse to use my favorite intro, but I'm going to use my favorite intro. So Squid Game is a South Korean cinema series on Netflix. It's 9 episodes long. And the premise is there's this company, person, or otherwise entity who finds people who are in debt. You know, people who are just crushed under the weight of their debt. They cannot pay these debts off. They're impoverished, they're down on their luck, and they're promised, hey, you can get a lot of money, pay off all your debts, and then some if you come and play some games. Children's games. What can go wrong? We all played children's games when we were kids on the playground. Well, they're children's games, and they're not told it's life and death, but yeah, if you fail the game, you die. Which is a great premise. I heard it's super hyper violent. The thing I appreciate is it is really violent, but again, the violence never felt gratuitous, you know? It never felt out of context. It all worked for the premise of the story. But it's not just a bunch of people playing games and that's entertaining enough. It would be entertaining enough, but it goes further with allegory on classism, human nature, money. What is money? How does it change you as a person? How does it change how you view other people and what you're capable of doing to them? And it's all delivered to you in this dish called Squid Game. This dish that has the allegory easily digestible, but is also equal parts entertaining. Great performances in here too. Sincere apologies if I mispronounce any names. Jungjae, he's our lead, he's our guy. He's the one that we're behind for this entire odyssey. You can tell from the get-go that dude is an everyday guy. He's not like the guy, you know, the guy who's clearly going to win this thing. No, underdog from the get-go. Any team he's in, they're the underdog team, and we're fighting life and death here. So everyone's life is on the line. He has a few moments of conflict where it's like, do I go with where I know I'll probably have a better chance? Do I do the human thing and team up with this other person who also has no shot so they can have a better shot? Great human connections in this story. There's one game in particular, I about cried. I'm not gonna front. I had the knot in my throat. And it's not just him. In that segment in particular, that's when actress Kyung Jung, she stepped into the forefront of like, oh, so she's a powerhouse in here too. I just thought, all right, she's the quiet pickpocket girl who sits in the background. But no. This game, there's one game in particular where they're dealing with the ugly things they might have to do to win. The toll it's taken on their soul as a human, the connections they're forming at this point. You know, people aren't just nameless and faceless opponents anymore. Dude, this episode, binging it with my dad, we binged this entire thing in one sitting. But after that episode, I was like, dude, that was some heavy shit. He was like, yeah, let's watch the next episode. I was all about like, I wanted to take a break. I was like, yeah, I was gonna drown my tears in a glass of scotch, but fuck it, let's do it. He comes from a generation of sterner stuff where they ate locomotive steel for breakfast. Their breakfast beverage was made from French pressing the ashes of letters to Santa Claus. But yeah, we pressed on. And I love the way this series wonderfully shows how it's the high school cafeteria. It's the elementary school cafeteria. It's that schoolyard thought process. At first you're like, oh yeah, kid games. That's, you know, of course it'll feel like that. But it's not. That's human nature. You look at how schoolyard systems, structures, friend groups, bullies, everything is structured. That's human nature at work in its purest form. That's why Lord of the Flies is great. And that's kind of what this felt like. It felt like an aggregate of a few other stories, all of which I enjoy. I've heard a lot of Hunger Games. I'm gonna go ahead and say Hunger Games or Battle Royale, whichever one you want to see it as. Meets Hard Target, meets Lord of the Flies with adults, with a bit of Stanley Kubrick in there. There were more than a few shots and scenes mixed with some of the song choice where I was like, this is very Kubrick. Also, I love the fact that these enforcers, these ominously masked people with guns, you don't see their faces, you're not supposed to see their faces, but you also at a point get the feeling like, oh, they're slaves to this system too. So who's free? And I appreciate any story that has reveals as you go along, where the reveals are actually hinted at before the reveals happen. You know, if you're paying attention, you can spot some clues that can help you peel back the layers and go, okay, I've figured some things out. I just appreciate that, where I can go back, watch it again, like, oh yeah, that was totally hinted at right there. I missed it. I suppose if it was one human being doing it in life, it'd be arrogance. If it's cleverly executed in a show, that's just good writing. In the end, this show worked on every level that I can think of. Great acting, great characters, great human depth and relationships among the characters. The games were absurdly entertaining. The blood factor and carnage, again, entertaining in that gory satisfaction kind of way, but also never ceased to be disturbing. And I cannot talk about the tension in this show enough. The tension was top notch. You need tension in a premise like this. Some episodes I held my breath for 5 minutes. Other episodes, 45. I'm amazed I didn't pass out. In the end, we have a great show about the core of humanity that should be making American Hollywood sweat right about now. After Parasite won Best Picture, I was hoping that South Korean films would get more exposure here in the US, you know, like more releases would come over here, and it looks like that is starting to happen. And Squid Game is not the only testament. It's not just like Squid Game and Parasite and they're two anomalies. No, there's a lot of South Korean cinema that is fucking great. And a lot of us over here just don't know about it. Well, like, I will hear about the smallest US release before I hear about the next big South Korean release. It's kind of how it just happens over here, so I'm glad more South Korean cinema is getting more exposure over here. All right, so Squid Game, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And Dad, if you're watching, you've been 2.5 months without a cigarette, I'm proud of you. You got this. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.